Welcome to the League. This is Real Takes with Major League, where I break down today's headlines and give you the takes that actually matter. Today, we're starting with Fox and Friends. Over the weekend, this video started circulating of Fox and Friends morning show, where one of their anchors, Brian Kilmeade, said something absolutely outlandish, and as they should, the entire community, online community, kind of took him to task for it. So they're sitting down, they're talking about the homeless epidemic in the country, and as always with Fox News, they kind of frame it as the homeless being a threat. Homeless is a problem that needs to be eradicated rather than a social issue that needs to be solved with, I don't know, better resources, social services, a better economy, more jobs, more mental health initiatives, right? But they want to solve the problem with jail time. And our friend Brian Kilmeade thinks of a different solution. Let's hear what he has to say. His solution to the homeless problem.
They have given billions of dollars to mental health and the homeless population. A lot of them don't want to take the programs. A lot of them don't want to get the help that is necessary. You can't give them a choice. Either you take the resources that we're going to give you, or you decide that you're going to be locked up in jail. That's the way it has to be now.
Or involuntary lethal injection.
Yeah, you heard that right. Involuntary lethal injection. So, just to clarify, to solve the problem of the unhoused in this country, people who, through no fault of their own, usually, right, find themselves in a position where they have to sleep on the street, they have to sleep in tents, right, because they don't have a job. There are a lot of working poor that are living on the street. There are a lot of veterans with mental health issues that are living on the streets. So instead of providing resources to these cities to help them, Brian Kilmeade's solution was to kill them all. This is absolutely ridiculous, and probably, a real indictment of how low right-wing culture and the culture of Fox News, the corporate media culture on the right, has sunken, has gone. He did try to clean it up. I guess there's a good amount of clamor all across the internet for him to resign, for him to lose his job because he said something this absolutely outlandish and batshit crazy. But he tried to clean it up. I guess he had a meeting with his bosses and they told him that you can't say the quiet part out loud anymore. This is his attempt at cleaning it up.
We're discussing the murder of Irina Zaruska in Charlotte, North Carolina, and how to stop these kinds of attacks by homeless, mentally ill assailants, including institutionalizing or jailing such people so they cannot attack again. Now, during that discussion, I wrongly said they should get lethal injections. I apologize for that extremely callous remark. I'm obviously aware that not all mentally ill homeless people act as the perpetrator did in North Carolina, and that so many homeless people deserve our empathy and compassion.
Do they?
Lawrence, back to you.
This is obviously new information for him, that homeless people deserve our empathy and compassion. You look at him; he didn't even have a tie on. It looked like somebody caught him on his way out the door and was like, "Yeah, you fucked up." We're getting a lot of emails. We're getting a lot of complaints, right, from people who have a moral compass. Before you leave, go ahead and issue an apology, and that's what he did. So my three things about this, right? First of all, why does this motherfucker still have a job? Anyone on the left would have said this, right? Some CNN anchor, not like they're always on the left, but an MSNBC anchor, right, would have said this. They'd been fired immediately, right? Before they walked out of the door, right? News would have broke that they lost their job. People have lost their job for less. People, Matthew Dowd the other day lost his job as a contributor on MSNBC because he said something to the effect of Charlie Kirk preached hate. And it's interesting that his hate turned back on him, right? Nothing too crazy, but he lost his job. Why do we tolerate this from Fox News? Why do they tolerate this, right? I feel like, at the very minimum, he should be out of job. There's no place in any sort of media or corporate media to be advocating for the death and harm to come to people who have done absolutely nothing. right? There's no place for it. You know, especially in corporate media, especially with the type of platform that this have and the millions of people that he reaches every day online and on TV. My second thing is, at what point are people like this going to be held accountable? He's not the only one. You also got Jesse Waters on Fox News that continuously says outlandish shit. You got people like Tucker Carlson, who doesn't work for Fox News anymore. But, you know, they have a long storied history of putting people on the air that advocate for this type of callousness towards homeless people, this type of callousness towards black people, this type of callousness towards immigrants on a consistent basis, right? It's time they are held accountable. And if people, the actual powers that be at Fox News, right, are not going to actually do it, then it's on us, right? Social media, the people online to be consistently taking these people to account. It looks like a lot of social media folks weighed in on this, and that's what put the pressure on Fox News to have them actually issue an apology. But I guarantee you, right, if that wasn't there, no apology would have been issued, because it wasn't, you can tell it wasn't in his heart. My third thing, the vitriol that comes from the right is dangerous. There are people on all ends of the mental health spectrum that will take this literally, right? The violence that comes, the violence that's insinuated, the violence that is advocated from the right is dangerous. And it's time we start focusing more on it and shine a spotlight on it, so that, you know, it's more obvious to viewers around the country that we need to stop this, and that the vast majority of it is coming from that side. Now, here's another video making the rounds on social media that I wanted to highlight today. Now, this is Pastor Howard John Wesley, and I wasn't familiar with him before this past weekend, but this is his remarks to his congregation in regards to Charlie Kirk, and I think it's something everyone should hear.
Charlie Kirk did not deserve to be assassinated. But I'm overwhelmed seeing the flags of the United States of America at half-staff calling this nation to honor and venerate a man who was an unapologetic racist and spent all of his life sowing seeds of division and hate into this land.
Unbelievable.
And hearing people with selective rage who were mad about Charlie Kirk but didn't give a damn about Melissa Hortman and her husband when they were shot down in their home.
Or Tamir Rice.
Tell me I ought to have compassion for the death of a man who had no respect for my own
Trayvon
life.
Martin. Talk to him.
I am sorry, but there's nowhere in Bible where we are taught to honor evil. And how you die does not redeem how you lived. You do not become a hero in your death when you are a weapon of the enemy in your life.
Okay, a couple things about this. I absolutely love this sermon. I agree with him 100%. The idea of selective rage is something that's been really hitting me over the weekend, that really frustrated me over the weekend. It's this idea that, you know, there are certain people whose values, beliefs, and life deserve more praise than others. And not only more praise than others, right? They deserve special attention from the prominent people in our government. And also, right, they represent more of America and the true soul of America than other people. What they're effectively saying is, with this selective outrage, right, is this man that preached hate, racism, that preached misogyny, bigotry, wrapped all that shit in scripture, deserves to be eulogized on the same level with people like Dr. Martin Luther King, right? Where the country as a whole has to stop everything to mourn this man. Absolutely unbelievable. Aside from the revisionist history, right? That all of a sudden he was a good man. He was a terrible human, right? Advocated for violence, advocated for public hanging, advocated for public executions. The revisionist history that we're engaging in is absolutely crazy. But the selective outrage that we're supposed to feel some type of empathy for a man that advocated against people like me is absolutely bananas. It's disgusting. The second thing that I love about this message is this isn't a turn your cheek message. One of the things that frustrated me, another thing that frustrated me so much over the weekend is like, we got to pray for Charlie Kirk and pray for his family. Charlie Kirk never prayed for you. Charlie Kirk vocally and probably privately advocated for your harm. If you look like me, right? If you're anybody but a white, straight Christian male, he advocated for your harm. He advocated against you. He was not praying for you. This idea that we're going to pray for people that hate us got us here. And that this message is exactly the opposite, and that's why I love it. So the third thing, while we're also not praying for the people that hate us, we're not going to be giving a pass to the people that are praying for them, right? We're not going to be giving a pass to the people like Donald Trump, to the people like Nancy Mace, or whatever her name is, right? That are praying for the people that hate us. We're not going to give a pass to the Dallas Cowboys. We're not going to give a pass to the New York Yankees, who held moments of silence for this man who advocated against people like me, who indirectly caused mental and physical harm to people like me, right? To black people around the country, to immigrants around the country, to women around the country, to LGBTQ people around the country. We're not advocating for their forgiveness, right? If you're praying for the people, if you're praying for my enemy, you are my enemy too. And along that same vein of the right is batshit crazy and consistently advocates violence, there's this lady. This is Minnesota State Rep Valentina Gomez. So Minnesota, the same state that had literal political assassinations earlier in the year. There's this woman. This is what she posted on TikTok. This is a Minnesota State Rep, Valentina Gomez.
It's that simple. Public executions for any illegal that rapes or kills an American. They don't deserve deportation. They deserve to be ended.
Now, saying this bold-faced with a very thick-ass Latina accent is crazy. That's bananas, right? But I'll give you three things. The first thing, the vitriol, the anger, the violence, right, in our overall political culture comes from one side and one side only, right? Can you guess who she voted for? Can you guess who she's advocating for, right? She's not a Tim Walz fan, I would imagine, right? The violence that is in this rhetoric that comes from the right needs to be talked about more. You never see any videos like this posted from, some Democrat running for Congress, shooting effigies, staging executions, right? Shooting crash test dummies in the head. Like, this is batshit crazy, and it only comes from one side. Thing number two, the GOP is full of violent extremists, and it's time we've done something about it. There is always some sort of GOP congressman on CNN or on MSNBC or Fox News especially talking about they're so concerned about violence from the left. Trump gave answer some questions, on the White House lawn the other day, talking about his main concern is violence from leftists. He sat on one of those Fox and Friends couches talking about he doesn't care about anything else. His focus is crime in the inner cities, right? Right? That's all subterfuge. At the end of the day, the vast majority of hateful, violent rhetoric is coming from the right, and the vast majority of violent political crimes, right, of violence stemming from ideology is coming from the right as well. This is a conversation that needs to be had nationally because we need to, A, counter this destructive idea that immigrants, trans people, black people are the vast majority of perpetrators of crime in this country when the exact opposite is true. There is a very dangerous precedent that we're setting by allowing people like this to set the tone of our politics. This can't go on. Thing number 3, every accusation is an admission with these people. If we're talking about child predators, if we're talking about political violence, if we're talking about crime in the streets, the vast majority of this stuff is coming from one side. And you hear consistently on these news channels about, the inner cities and how Trump needs to come in the inner cities and take over, and that these leftists are shooting people left and right and creating a very violent situation and a very violent environment, right? When it's the exact opposite. The vast majority of this stuff is coming from one side. You never see anyone on the left posting videos like this, right? Advocating for violence. I think there needs to be a bigger, broader conversation that needs to be had about why that is the case, why we let these people on the right create this very violent and violent political landscape consistently. All right, that's it for me. Thank you for joining Real Takes with Major League. Drop your real takes in the comments, and I'll see you next time.